The overnight trade started out with a little bit of a weaker corn market, but the soybeans and the wheat were higher, with wheat leading the way, and we haven't been that way since the day trade began. Well, right now, let's go to the board and find out where we stand here as we get closer to the end of the trade today. We've got September corn down 8 pennies at $3.51.5 a bushel. December's down 8 1/4. It's trading at $3.63, which is just off of the low of that contract, which is at $3.61.5. So closer to the bottom end of that range rather than the top end up there around $3.74. Soybeans today, well, they are now back to the higher side. Yes, that is correct. That's not a mistake there. August soybeans up 1.5, $8.65. November soybeans up 1 at $8.81. So soybean market kind of making a little bit of a comeback here, and that $8.81 in the new crop is only 4 pennies away from the top of the trading range there at $8.85. For the September Chicago wheat, we're down 13 cents at $4.88 1/4. December down 12.5, $5.04 1/4. September Kansas City wheat down 10 3/4, $4.77 3/4. December down 10 1/2. It's trading at $5.01. September Minneapolis wheat down 6 at $5.30 3/4. December wheat down 6 also at $5.48 1/2. The cotton market for December is down 80. That's the new crop. 83.12 is where we are trading, and that is close to the bottom end of that range also, which is 83.06. So let's get a feel for what's going on and what the mood is on the trading floor as we go to Chicago at the CME Group. Joining us live right there on the floor, Scott Gecas, Longleaf Trading. Scott, we've got a kind of an interesting day setting up tomorrow. The markets will close at noon Central Time, and then, of course, we don't have any markets trade on Wednesday. So what's the mood on the floor today?
The mood on the floor today is there is none, because no one's here. So the volume's anemic going into the holiday within a midweek. You know, I'd be surprised if hardly any people show up tomorrow. Right now, the trading pits are about maybe at the best 30% filled. So as I was walking up, there was a bunch of people leaving for the day, going on vacation, just taking the time off. So we're going to see how that all plays out. One of the things I want to spend a little bit of time is just the grains across the board. You have a lot of risk headlines, everything, all the fundamentals, all the technicals are all thrown out the window right now. Because we move so far, so fast, you're looking at a put-call ratio to the call side, to the upside. The risk is definitely to the upside now rather than to the downside. And that's only because if anything positive comes out of the tariff talks, trade with China, NAFTA, anything like that, you're going to see a big spike.
It's kind of interesting. I'm glad that you bring up all those statistics. Is it unusual that this many folks would kind of step back from the trade with this potential to the upside here in front of a holiday?
Well, in front of the holiday, yeah, for sure. But again, you know, there's a lot of risk off. People aren't, there's a lot of money on the sidelines, a lot of funds, just because of you don't know what's going to happen with the headline risk. You know, with the half a day tomorrow being off on Wednesday, you know, there's not going to be a lot of people putting on fresh new positions.
That's a good point. Scott Gecas, Longleaf Trading, here on the line with us from Chicago. And when we come back, Scott, let's talk about that livestock trade, see what's going on over there. That's next here on the Market Day Report. Expanded limits over in the cattle market, at least on a few of the contracts. The front 2 contracts of the live cattle and the first contract there in the feeder cattle. August right now, just a dime higher, 106.82. October up 13, 110.15. December live cattle are down 20 at 113.50. Feeder cattle market for August up 88 cents at 152.20. September up 95 at 151.90. October feeder cattle up $1.17, 151.25. And November's up $1.23 at 150.98. August hogs down 2.35 at 74.10. October down $1.90 at 57.88. December down $1 at 53.55. And February down 33 at 59.42. So let's get analysis of all of this as we go back to the edge of the trading floor, where Scott Gecas is standing by with Longleaf Trading. So what is what's the tone there in the livestock market then? Pretty much the same as the grains?
Pretty much the same as grains. There's very little volume across the board. It doesn't really matter what product you're looking at right now. You know, Friday with the big run up, we had limit up in the cattle, showing a little bit stronger demand than expected. The supply concerns are still going to be there going forward, but either way, there's not going to be any volume to push it around one way or the other for the rest of today or even tomorrow. So we're going to see how this is going to play out going into the 4th, see where we open up on Thursday.
A little bit of optimism back over here in this cattle market after trading that the little spurt of cash that we had there late on Friday.
Yeah, and that's what was driving that market, and it's pushing up a little bit higher. So we're going to see how that all plays out. But either way, you're still running into major supply concerns, with cattle as well as pork.
I'm glad that you asked that, because that's where I was headed next. You talk about those supply concerns in pork. So what about the pork market here today? We're off quite a bit.
Yeah, we're off quite a bit, but, the July contract hasn't seen any factor of those supply concerns at all. So we're going to see how this plays out. If these exports don't show up, going to Canada, Mexico, and China, you're going to see this pork market collapse. And I think you can see that with the divergence between the front month and all the way back to the back month, as well as that put-call ratio to the downside, heavily weighted to the put side.
So if something does get worked out between the United States and China, and we get some late word on maybe some positive news or some kind of an agreement, where does that leave this hog market then?
I think you'll see a dramatic spike higher, very heavy volume to the upside.
Interesting. Scott Gecas with Long Leaf Trading here with us. Scott, thank you very much. Always good to visit with you. He's there at the edge of the trading floor.